Arg, welcome to Filmshake, episode 11, Cutthroat Island.
Ahoy, matey.
You scurvy knaves. You bad dog.
You bad dog, Jordan Courtney, and this here's me, Nicholas Loop.
All right.
Go Tigers. 2019 national champs.
What is happening?
We're here to talk about Cutthroat Island, a 1995 film about pirates.
So why did the pirate just talk about the LSU Tigers?
Well, you know, I've got to get in that LSU won the national championship.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know how many times we're going to break into pirate speak. We can't control that. It's out of our control. It's going to happen a lot of times.
It's just your natural interest as a person coming through, but in pirate talk.
And
so
this movie just does that to you, too.
That's right. Just be yourself. Free yourself in pirate lingo. We are a 1990s movie podcast. We're here to talk about the righteous, the bogus, and the tubular.
Oh, I like it.
Arg. All right, well, before we get into the full review of Cutthroat Island, last time I had lost the trivia battle that we normally do at the end of the show. So today we're going to do a 1995 trivia battle after our main review. But before we do that, I have to come back for the Fallen Warrior review and report on Tremors 6, Cold Day in Hell.
That's right. I made you watch A Cold Day in Hell while also saying it'll be a cold day in hell before I ever watch this. So you got to tell me about it. How was the movie?
Well, so before I went and watched Tremors 6, I decided to check out the attack pack from the library.
Nice.
And it included, 1 through 5. Only watched 2 out of that pack so far. But I figured I'd want to get into like the straight-to-video sequel mode before diving into Tremors 6. So Tremors 2 Aftershocks, not as good as the original, of course, but still pretty good for a straight-to-video sequel. It's campy, it's fun like the first one, but it does kind of lack that biting wit of the dialogue between Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. So that was missed, but, still a lot of fun, really goofy, over the top. You know what you're getting into, so...
Touché.
And that's, I think, the brilliance of these movies is they know what they are, and they're just going to have fun with that. They're not trying to be anything that they're not. They're just a good time. They're ridiculous, and they know it. And it's really fun. So
they're worm movies.
That's right. These damn worms.
Mother humpers.
These mother humpers. So you get some more mother humpers in Tremors 6. And again, you kind of know what you're getting into. So I approached the whole thing with low expectations. And it really actually wasn't that bad.
Ooh.
Yeah, for what it is, again. You've got Jamie Kennedy quite past his prime, if he ever had one. Scream, maybe. I don't know, but...
His finest moment and his moment.
And his only moment. But, it's just ridiculous. It knows what it is, and it's there to have fun. He's not terrible, but... Yeah, there's definitely some cheese and some bad one-liners there. But surprisingly, his chemistry with Bert is pretty similar to the Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward chemistry from the original.
Nice.
So there's some bickering buddy. He's apparently his son from a previous movie that came back. He's the son between him and Reba. And, so there's like a estranged father situation going on there. Bert really doesn't want to take him along, but he does anyway because he needs some help to go fight these mother humpers up in the Arctic Circle.
Oh, so we are in the Northern Hemisphere, confirmed.
Yes, we are in the northern. They're up in Canada, like way up there, a remote location that's for some reason seems to be thawing. There's like some climate change messaging going on.
Tremors gets political.
Yes, it gets a little political. So there's some of that going on. But I think that's also a cheap way where they could film not in like harsh snow. It was just like, it's thawing, so everything is actually green.
We filmed this in downtown Los Angeles in a backlot.
Right. But before we move on, some really fun lines in this movie. Again, just over the top ridiculousness. Pretend you are a cowardly doctor who is going to eventually try and run away from the Arctic compound where they're trapped by the graboids. And I'm Bert, and I'm trying to toughen you up and just get you to stick around and man up and do your part. So repeat after me. I have balls of steel.
I have balls of steel.
My balls are stainless steel.
My balls are stainless steel.
My balls are in the Guinness Book of Balls.
My balls are in the Guinness Book of Balls.
That's right. Toughen up, boy. You got to kill these graboids.
Yes, sir. What are the graboids in this movie, by the way? What's their form?
Well, so you get the giant worm form,
okay,
but you also get the ass blasters, which were introduced in a previous film. So
Tremors 3.
They're the flying combustible methane, I guess, coming out of their ass, where it helps them to fly. So they fight a few of the ass blasters, but then for the most part, you get the giant worm form, and in this one, it's all CGI, and it's actually not too terrible CGI. It doesn't look like sci-fi, like just cheese, really bad. It's getting there, but it's not terrible. But in this one, the worms pop up out of the ground and like twist in the air and like grab things in midair and then go back underground. So they get really acrobatic.
Wow, they're like orcas. Maybe they've been studying them up there.
Yeah, maybe so, because they're adaptable and they evolve. So, but yeah, apparently these form of the giant worm are like the prehistoric version. Ice is melted and thawed, and that's released like these Precambrian graboids.
They're more ancient.
They're more ancient.
Are they more evil?
No, they're just about as evil.
Gotcha.
They just kill everybody and eat everything. So yeah,
equally evil.
But there's a lot of moments that definitely call back to the original. Like, you can almost say they're just following the formula at this point, where there's a water tower scene where someone's stuck on the tower, but instead of in the first one, Rhonda kicks over the water pipe to make the water spray on the ground and attract the graboid. This one, a guy is urinating off the side of the tower. So
perfect.
Yeah, steady stream of urine to get those graboids at you.
Well, really, that's how the first Tremors started, right? I feel like someone's got to be pissing in at least once in all of these movies,
right?
Or they don't work.
Oh, and there's a moment where a girl needs to take off her pants to escape the graboid, but she lets the characters know that she's not wearing any underwear, so she doesn't take off her pants.
Gotcha. Semi-callback,
yeah. But changed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Which, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But, yeah. All in all, I think I gave it like a 3 out of 5. It wasn't great, wasn't terrible. It was straight to video. It's Tremors 6. I mean, that's what it is. It just is what it is. So,
do you know what didn't go straight to video and was one of the most expensive movies of the mid-90s?
What could that be?
Renny Harlin's 1995 swashbuckling pirate film, Cutthroat Island.
Yes. I'm so glad you made us watch this movie.
This movie and we have an interesting relationship. I was on a family vacation to Grand Isle, the Cajun paradise, though I'm not actually Cajun, but that's what we call it here in Louisiana. It's our only public beach. My family had a camp there. It was a nice little trailer pre-Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, for those not in the know of Louisiana and
Louisiana lingo.
That's right. So there was a video store in Grand Isle. I don't remember the name of it because I believe the name of it was Video Store.
Of course. I mean, that's probably the only one in Grand Isle, so you don't need an actual name.
Yes, and whenever they opened this store up in the early 90s, it was a momentous occasion. It was reason for me to start bringing a VCR to our trailer in Grand Isle every summer. And, there was a pirate movie that summer by the name of Cutthroat Island, and if you're in Grand Isle, you got to rent the pirate movie. I mean, there's a pirate fort, a Jean Lafitte fort. Well, it's not on Grand Isle. It's on a neighboring island that's like 50 yards away from Grand Isle.
Because Grand Isle is, what, like 50 yards big?
Hey, it's 8 miles of glory, okay?
Right.
Fort Livingston, next door on Grand Terre Island, is right there. So, it's very piratey. There were pirates there. So it's the perfect environment for a pirate film. So we rented Cutthroat Island. My dad, my mom, my brother, my sister, and I, we all watched it together. We're all in a great mood. We were all getting along really well. My dad's boiling some shrimp. Lots of happy things are going on. Yes. And then we're watching this movie that costs...
did this derail y'all's happy moment at all?
It didn't. It's this movie that costs like $80 billion to make. It's all up on the screen. We're all like 70% paying attention, so only the explosions and clashing swords are really meeting our eyeballs and brains.
Oh, so you watched the whole film.
So I enjoyed it then, right? I get home, and I'm a Columbia House member as a 14-year-old. I got my 6 movies for a penny, and then I got my 6 other movies for $400,000 a piece. One of those movies was Cutthroat Island. But for some reason, all the movies I got on VHS, I watched 200 or 300 times. For some reason, I only watched Cutthroat Island one time, and I never watched it again. And when I did watch it, I watched it with some friends. And I remember not too long after that, I had them over again and was like, you guys want to watch a movie? And multiple members of that group of friends said, yeah, just not Cutthroat Island again. And I thought that was kind of weird.
You didn't pick up on the signals then, I guess.
I did not. But I also never felt drawn to watch the movie again. And I kind of forgot about it until the last Filmshake when it dawned upon me, let's watch Cutthroat Island. Let's watch it and let's see, is Cutthroat Island that bad? Because I remember it flopping hugely at the box office.
Biggest flop in film history, I want to say. It cost, I think adjusted for inflation, $150 million. And it made 10 at the box office.
$10 million. Worldwide gross.
Yes. That's terrible.
That's in the entire world. Were you even aware of Cutthroat Island before I asked you to watch it for this episode?
I think I had seen the VHS vaguely, maybe somewhere growing up. I never actually seen the movie. No, I wasn't very aware of this film, so I'm really glad that you brought it to my attention.
It's got this awesome like Indiana Jones art style poster with, fire and tropical palm trees and pirate ship and, these beautifully painted portraits of the actors. So it looks like it's going to be a rip-roaring time.
Well, let me get into that because I think that leads me into discovering this movie via you. You told me it was a big box office flop, and we're revisiting it thinking, okay, well, was this really as bad, as people say it is? So this movie kind of tricks me, at least at first, because, I see all that art. I see the cover design, the opening credits and everything. I'm like, oh, and the music, and obviously a high production value going into this. So I'm like, oh, maybe this will be decent. Maybe it won't be so bad. But no. As soon as the characters start to speak, it's all downhill from there. Because it has possibly the worst opening scene of any big budget movie ever. It's just terrible. So
come on, man. You didn't like I've Got Your Balls?
So it opens up with Gina Davis. She's getting dressed after a soiree with this, I don't know, British general or somebody that she's just seduced.
A fancy lad.
A fancy lad. So, and you don't really know why she's had sex with this character or what it has to do with anything.
It's never explained.
It's never explained. But he's like, oh, you're leaving so soon, but I thought we would be forever. And just the dialogue there is just, as soon as he starts speaking, and he calls her senorita for some reason. But then he's like, oh, but I really know who you are, and, I'm going to bring you to the officials or whatever. And she's like, oh, you knew who I was? And then she acts all surprised, but then a minute later she's like, but you knew who I was. And he picks up the gun to try and shoot her, and she's like, that won't work because I've got your balls. Just like,
and it's in truth, her monkey has his balls because she has a pet monkey / companion monkey who leaps over.
King Charles.
That's right. Yeah. King Charles leaps over to her shoulder and, ahoy, matey, I've got his balls, says the monkey, because he can talk. No, thankfully the monkey doesn't talk in the movie, but they do communicate. It's shown throughout the movie that she can understand what he's saying in his monkey chirps.
Yes, that was a subtlety of the moment that passed over me. I guess that she understood the monkey. I was just focused on all the terrible human dialogue. Well, but I'm sure if the monkey could talk, he'd say some terrible things too.
Here's the best part about that scene, right? So she's taken his pistol balls, and he can't shoot her with his gun. He's still a very large man who has other weapons and is in his large palatial mansion with armed guards and could easily say, men, seize her. Instead, she just walks out and leaves, and she's free to run and jump on her horse and escape.
Maybe because he was indisposed, he'd have to reveal that he had this tryst with this pirate lady.
I had an indiscretion.
An indiscretion. I don't know. None of that is explained. She just walks away, and he's flabbergasted. Okay, so that's trickery number one. I'm like, opening, maybe it's going to be okay. No, this is terrible. But then the credit montage. So she's riding on horseback along the beach at sunset, and there's this epic score.
It's a John Debney score that could be like Golden Age of Hollywood. Kids study this in film in music school and learn from this. It's incredible.
Right.
Except it's the Cutthroat Island soundtrack.
Except it's featured in this film. And then the shots tell you right away, this is a very expensive movie. There's these crane shots over the ocean. She's riding through the water on horse. The giant score, everything's going on. I'm like, maybe it can be good. Maybe it won't all be bad. Maybe it'll be pretty decent. This looks pretty good.
These location shots are insane.
Yeah, and it's all on location. It looks incredible. So for a minute, I'm tricked again, thinking this is well shot. Maybe this will be okay.
But then Jordan, I'm a good movie.
Exactly. But then she jumps off her horse and kicks a dude in the face. And it looks really clumsy too. And there's also no explanation. Like, who is this person? Why is she kicked? Because I was thinking where is she riding? Where is she going? All of a sudden, there's a boat along the beach, and she just jumps off her horse and drop kicks this dude in the face.
And she's wearing sandals, but it makes a sound when she kind of makes contact, kind of not.
So I'm like, oh, maybe not. And another trickery. So then she rows over to this pirate ship, and all of a sudden it's nighttime because jump from sunset to night.
She's a slow rower,
right? It took her a while. But then now you've got Frank Langella. Am I saying his name right?
I always say Langella.
Let's go with Langella. I like that better anyway. Sorry, Frank, for butchering your name.
He doesn't care.
So Frank Langella shows up, and he's this bad pirate. He looks pretty cool and badass, actually, and he's about to make her dad walk the plank. So I'm like, okay, cool, classic pirate stuff.
Walk the plank.
He looks really badass. It looks pretty cool. He's about to walk the plank, but then again, he opens his mouth and says some terrible sounding dialogue like, "Come here, I'm gonna split your head open." And his delivery, it's not only over the top, but it's just there's something to it. I guess just because the dialogue is terribly written, that I feel like he's constipated the whole movie. He's just like having a hard time getting these words out.
Everyone's cadence in this movie is off. I don't know what it is, if it's just the dialogue or the way they were told to speak.
He's like, this is some terrible dialogue. Well, maybe change up the rhythm of it a little bit and it'll make it sound better. Nope, you still said, "Come here, I want to split your head open." It's just like, what? That doesn't sound good no matter how you say it. Sorry, bud. I don't want to keep rambling on here, but any response to those scenes for you? What are you thinking on the revisit
here's what I'm
so
thinking.
far?
So I put the movie on. My son's in the room because these movies are even like quasi kid friendly. I'll keep him around and see what his opinion on them is.
Right.
He immediately was off put. Daddy, this movie's weird. No. Just right off the bat. And I'm
perceptive young lad.
That's right. And I'm feeling it immediately, like, oh no. Because even the great score, which I could remember the theme. I'm a film score nerd, love film scores, and I remember the melodies from this one. But it's like they're so good, but the scenes are so clumsy that it almost works against the movie at some points because the visuals are just butting against the audio.
It just makes it even worse.
It makes it even worse. It's like John Williams is soundtracking you, tying your shoe and accidentally falling over because you lost your balance. But it's like the Star Wars theme is playing in the background.
Right, yeah.
So it just makes you look dumber.
Right. It's so majestic. It just makes it look worse.
Yeah. So I was definitely saying, oh no, this is bad. This is not a good movie. This was not good. So I watched it twice for this episode. And that first viewing was rough because it was pretty much just me saying "oh no" and muttering it over and over, and then to
what
the
have I done?
To where even my kid was like, "Are you okay? Can we turn this off? I'm worried about you." He didn't really say that. I wish my kid was that empathetic at 10, but he did say, "Can we turn this off?" Those were words that he said.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, she saves her father, and he's shot. So he asks her to scalp him for a secret map that's on his head. Just some of the plot points of this movie.
And let's
want to highlight.
Let's just talk about the genius of before when Frank Langella asked, "Where's the map?" And her father points to his head and says, "It's up here."
All up here. Literally tattooed on my head.
And also, Frank Langella is incredible in this movie. His name is Dog, Captain Dog.
Yes, and he's her uncle.
And he chews the scenery. He's the only person that's like just totally enjoying himself the whole time. He said later, "This is one of my 3 favorite movies I've ever been in because of how much fun I had. This was a good movie. You can tell how much he's enjoying himself. And I'm going to talk more about how much he enjoyed himself later. But I just wanted to make that point.
Apparently, that was not the case for a lot of the other cast members.
For anyone else involved in the entire movie.
At least Frank's having a good time. So, yeah, he has the map tattooed on his head, the Jad. And then they discover they need someone to translate Latin that's on the map. So they find Matthew Modine. He's a slave.
They being Gina Davis's pirate crew because she goes back to her father's ship and wins their trust. And they decide they're going to follow her to the treasure that's found on Cutthroat Island.
Yes. So, but before they can do that, they need Matthew Modine, who may or may not be able to translate Latin because they discover later that the words are actually just backwards on the map. So, does he really know Latin? Did he ever say any Latin in this movie?
Does he have any actual talents or skills?
Right. As an actor, as a character. But yes, there's some pretty rousing entertainment, some action scenes there where they have to get away on a horse and carriage. They're being chased through the city. There's some nice stunts. There's also some clumsy and ridiculous and over the top, as always, stunts. There's the famous one that's called the impossible stunt where... So she's on top of the horse carriage fighting some dudes.
We've got a big horse carriage chase. It's like this is the car chase of the movie, except it's a horse carriage chase.
Exactly. They're being chased by other,
I don't know,
British guards.
They've got red coats on. They have fancy accents.
Yeah, they're being chased by British officers. So at one point she's just decking dudes, kicking them off the top of the horse carriage. And then she somehow gets into like the upper chamber of an apartment and it's like clumsily bumping through everything and running through there. And then she crashes through the other side of the window and lands magically on the horse carriage in place as it's coming through, which is pretty impressive. Like it actually looks like she did that. Reading about it later, apparently it was a digital composite where they just had her actually fall out of a window onto the ground and then splice that in with a shot of her sitting like she just landed already on the carriage. So she's already on the carriage and splice that together. Why?
I can see the confusion on your face.
I guess just to impress the audience maybe in 95. Like, oh, look, these actors did their own stunts. But apparently she almost got really hurt doing this. Renny Harlin, who's the director, was dating Gina Davis at the time. They got married later. I don't know, like he was known for doing this with his actors. So I'm just wondering.
There are so many
conflicting facts here. Is this movie that important?
I've also heard them describe the movie as their honeymoon. So I can't figure out if they got married right before the movie.
Yeah, that's true. I think maybe they got married during production. It was just such a long and storied production.
No one's really sure.
It became their honeymoon.
Not even them. And that's also my question. Is that why Gina Davis and Matthew Modine's chemistry is so awful? Is he just terrified of Renny Harlin? Because Renny Harlin's a pretty large, frightening-looking man.
We had the same question with the Total Recall remake, right? Where a spouse was playing... Let me start over.
I'll help you out there. Lynn Wiseman directed that film.
Right.
Colin Farrell was the star. Kate Beckinsale was the female lead. Colin Farrell and Kate Beckinsale were supposed to be married and have some romantic tension. It was strangely awkward and strained because Colin Farrell usually has chemistry with a rock or a tree or, an imaginary figment of your imagination.
Right.
But he had none with Kate Beckinsale, who also generally has chemistry with a cloud, the sky. But they didn't have any chemistry with each other, and it was strange.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show that you shouldn't have a director making a film with their wife or husband that's going to be romantically involved with another character on screen. There's just some awkwardness there you want to avoid.
And you really kind of wonder, how was he trying to get out of the relationship with this movie? Because he puts her through hell with some of these stunts. It really seems like he's trying to kill her at some points.
I think that's just this guy. Like, that's his mode of operation. Extreme, yeah. No, I think I even had a quote from him that was, when I make a movie, I don't want there to be fear. I want there to be panic. I don't want there to be laughter. I want there to be hysteria. Like he just wants everything to be upped one notch or maybe several notches. But
This is how we do it in Finland.
right. Yeah, he's
Finland was more chill. I don't know what happened to
he
him.
came to America and was like, I need to match their extremism. I guess. I don't know.
I'll show them.
So this whole point. So there's some decent action there, but then at the end of that scene, there's a ship out in the bay, and then it suddenly starts to fire on Gina Davis and Matthew Modine
Because we need explosions.
Because we need
there has to be
explosions
explosions
somehow. But they're firing on this whole city of people just to kill this pirate lady. That's insane. Yeah, that obviously just a sick desire for explosions because there's no ethical or logical reason. Like, there's the horsemen, like the British officers are right behind them, but we're going to shoot cannons.
And these cannonballs are loaded with TNT. I mean, they're like little mini A-bombs. They're setting off enormous fireballs.
I'm pretty sure there was like a stack of TNT barrels that they passed with the horse carriage that the cannon shot just, for the explosion. It's ridiculous.
There's another explosion at the end of the film I can't wait to talk about. But before we get to that, so they do escape, and we've got to talk about the crew of the Morning Star, which is Gina Davis's ship. Have we even talked about her name? Because I'm about to get into some pronunciations of it.
Morgan?
Her name is Morgan, and that's what everyone calls her, except for one crew member played by Stan Shaw. His name is Mr. Glasspool.
Oh, the bad Jamaican accent.
He calls her Morgan.
Morgan. I think he says it several different ways.
He does. And I have to say, Stan Shaw is like one of my 90s actor all-stars. He was in Matlock, which I loved him in as a kid. I loved Matlock. Just come on and bring it. I love Matlock. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says.
Care what you think.
He was in Roots, but the thing that I remember him the most fondly in is another 90s film, very sentimental 90s film that I haven't watched in 25, 26, 27 years. He was Big George in Fried Green Tomatoes, so maybe that movie's awful too. I don't know, but I liked him as Big George in that movie. We might have to go to the Whistle Stop Cafe. I don't know. For some reason, he says her name is Morgan. I don't know if was he supposed to be Jamaican?
Well, I watched it with subtitles on because I couldn't understand a lot of the dialogue. And another thing is, like, soon as anyone talks, not only is the dialogue terrible, but it's all terribly overdubbed as well.
Oh, the overdubs in this movie are so bad.
It's so bad. But it said at one point in the subtitles Jamaican accent when he was speaking.
Oh, so, man, it's spoiled.
If that's what that was supposed to be, maybe there's another movie with a backstory. Well, they were in the Caribbean.
Man, but the overdubs. Now I'm thinking about all the tracking shots of jungle footage where you hear actors saying like, and then we should go left and take 60 more steps.
Right.
Oh, and then we should go right after that. Yeah. Like how many times they have to go back into the studio to record all these?
They're like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. I guess we need to explain some things here. Oh, quick, do it while they're running through the jungle.
That's right. Let's make sure it's just shots of the back of our stunt people's heads. Run that way.
We weren't actually talking, of course, in that moment.
Oh, man.
So then they go to another town for another map. There's like 3 maps they need. I don't know if they're all on the skulls of people. No, some of them are not on the skulls.
It was really easy to make a video game adaptation of this movie because it's definitely a video game plot.
It's like a quest, the quest for the 3 different maps.
The SNES version, it wasn't too bad, if I remember correctly. It's
probably better than the movie. Huh?
Probably, but my memory of the movie wasn't the best, so it could be bad.
Right. So then they go to another town, and of course, she has to dress up as a whore so she can trick the other map holder to let them into her crew, or I guess he wants a whore, and she knows his vices, so... But one of the most egregious moments of the movie, so before she can enter his lair, she has to be patted down and, checked for weapons, I suppose, but maybe just a poor excuse for one of the lackeys to squeeze Gina Davis's boobs. And again, like close-up shot on her boobs from the director himself, just like, hey, look at my wife's boobs,
Look at Renny Harlin's wife.
Right. Oh, she's just in this busty, pirate era dress, and yeah. It's ridiculous. So this character is named Mordecai.
She has so many uncles in this movie,
so,
and they all look exactly the same.
Oh, yeah, it's his uncle. It's her uncle. Another uncle, I forgot, because she has like 20 uncles.
And she calls them all uncle, so it makes it even more confusing.
But then, of course, Doggy Dog, Franklin Jella, shows up, and she fights in the bodice. Of course, her boobs busting out more until there's more explosions. So it's like, how do we end this fight scene? How does she get away? Explosions, please. And that's like every scene.
And Frank Langella's just
movie.
Chasing her, chomping on the scenery behind her.
He's literally chewing on the bulkhead.
She just barely escapes from his jaws. Right. And then I don't even remember what happens next.
Oh, well, she's shot. And then
I forgot about that.
She's shot by, was it Frank or one of the lackeys?
It was him. Yeah, dog shoots her.
Dog.
He shoots his niece.
You dirty dog. He shoots his niece, and then Modine in this scene has recovered the second map from Mordecai, who's been killed off. He finds the second map, which is like a semicircle piece of wood with some carvings on it. But he's a doctor by chance. He knows Latin, and he's a good fencer, and he's also a doctor.
He says he's a doctor.
He does have
later
lots of
find
talents.
out that he's actually not a doctor.
Yes. But he does take the ball out of her.
And can we just talk about how wormy he is in this movie? His voice, everyone has a weird cadence or diction, but his is just like, oh, I'm coming over here now. I'll take this ball out of you if it so pleases you. Oh. Why does he talk that way? What is his deal?
Because he's got to say this great line next where she says, give me the map. And he says, give me a kiss first. I show you mine and you share me with yours. Like, it's not even show me, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. It's, make it more British or something. It's like, I show you mine and you share with me yours.
And I feel like Renny Harlin was picking up on the worminess and exploiting it even more, because even whenever, so the way that she comes across Matthew Modine's character is he gets captured because he's robbing all the ladies throughout the islands of their jewelry, and he gets put on the slaver block. She ends up buying him, and whenever he's sold, he makes a happy little face, and then for no reason, the guard behind him just slaps him in the back of the head. He's like, oh, yay, I've been... Ow!
Ow! Yeah. Renny Harlin's like, just slap that dude a couple of times. Like, he's about to French my wife later.
Just hit him.
Yeah. Just hit him. Oh, man. Yeah, I feel like Matthew Modine's character is playing several different layers here that I don't think, maybe he's not capable of, and that's why he comes across as so wormy, because he's a thief playing like a fancy lad who's supposed to be a doctor and knows Latin and can fence and all this stuff. But I think maybe Matthew Modine's just out of his depth, at least in 95 in this movie under this direction.
Well, the crazy thing is Geena Davis, Academy Award winner Geena Davis, completely out of her depth in this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like it's nuts. There's very rarely a scene where it looks like she's in command of what's going on.
No, she's kind of just bumbling all throughout all the action. She doesn't convince me. Like, there's a couple of scenes and couple of line readings where I'm like, oh, okay, I could see her as like a fierce pirate lady, but 99% of the movie, oh man, she's not selling this.
Yeah,
this does not
and it's
work.
not the physicality. If it's just her fighting someone, it's believable, but it's her facial expressions and the way that she's reading her lines. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I think she just wanted out of this movie. Like, her heart was not in this at all.
She really did want out of the movie.
Yeah, her and Renny Harlin actually wanted to be let go from the picture, and the studio said no.
They couldn't get out.
So they're just phoning it in. But even still, yeah, she's not convincing. It's just terrible round and round. Oh man. So Uncle Dog will have his day.
He says that. He says that line.
He does. Uncle Dog will have his day. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I just had that in my notes, just like a single line of text there. Whatever context that was said in, I don't remember, but he said that.
He looks off toward the skyline, and he's plotting his revenge, and he says, Uncle Dog will have his day.
I want to bring up the attention to detail in the pirate life aboard the ship. Because what could we get into here? Daily routine of a pirate, swabbing the decks, your typical pirate stuff. No. There's roaches crawling on the food in her pirate den.
They just leave rotten food out everywhere all the time.
And apparently, maybe this was shown to show how like tough her character is or something. Again, not convincing at all. Just really weird. She flicks a roach off a stale old piece of bread and then just eats it like no big deal.
I eat roach bread. I'm a pirate. Arg.
This is when she's caught Modine with the second map, and she's gonna, maroon him now. And because nobody's actually going to kill anybody like a real pirate would in this movie. We're just going to leave you for dead or I don't know.
That's kind of the rub with anything that has a pirate or a Viking where they try to make you connect with them or make them the protagonist. In reality, pirates are people who robbed, murdered, raped, stole from people. And in the movie, her ship is called the Morning Star. She's heroic. Her band of pirates are very moralistic. And dogs are evil, scurvy, traitors, bad guys. And in reality, all pirates are
scurvy.
Yeah, exactly.
They all got the scurvy.
Yeah. At least at that time. I mean, I'm not talking about modern piracy. I'm talking about the classic Caribbean piracy of this film in the 17th century.
So that there's no reason why there's a distinction here that one pirate is good and one is bad. But
his ship is called Reaper. Hers is called Morning Star.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So then there's mutiny on this ship, and this kind of gets into what I was just talking about. There's a character, Tom Scully, who's been slighted. He wanted to be the captain, but was passed over for this lady pirate. But so instead of killing her, again, doesn't kill her like any normal pirate would, or that would make sense to just be rid of her. They're not going to direct course either because they're in the middle of a storm that they're fearing. That's one reason why there's a mutiny. But instead, they're just going to cast her away on a longboat and hope she dies via storm. I guess maybe, again, trying to show them as a little bit more chivalrous, but of course we've just got to let the plot continue. She can't die. She's the hero. Yeah, and unless there's some other pirate tradition that I don't know about that would just let their captain live, maybe so. Okay, we don't kill the captain, but we'll just leave him to die or something like that. But it feels painfully forced and just really dull on top of that. It's we're in the middle of the storm, we're being chased by dog, and then all of a sudden there's a mutiny, and they're all right, let her go on the long boats, and then Matthew Modine jumps overboard and to go after her. For whatever reason, I don't know.
It's her and her very small crew of loyal people, which I forgot to mention, too. We've got Chris Masterson, who was Francis in Malcolm in the Middle. Of course, the cool older brother in Malcolm in the Middle. But here he's just kind of the little scrawny guy that is kind of always hiding when there's a fight.
Oh, was that kid? Okay.
Yeah, it's that kid. And, of course, what happens, the boat gets all smashed around, and then all of a sudden, smash cut to blue crystal clear water, everyone floating around unconscious, because in real life, if you're unconscious in the water, you generally slip down underneath the surface and drown.
Right.
But in movies, you wake up floating on a log.
Yeah.
And in this movie, you wake up floating on a log.
Or the debris of the longboat that was just destroyed. Yeah.
That's right. Right next to Cutthroat Island.
Which
They're
again,
there.
They cast her overboard. They don't take the map from her. Tom Scully's just no, you keep the map and you can live, and maybe you'll end up on Cutthroat Island and I'll have to face you later. But it's why be so close to the treasure? Aren't you all out here on the ship for the treasure? I don't know. It just makes no sense. I guess I'm trying too hard to make this movie make sense.
Well, and you're at the one part that I remember even whenever I was 14 that was a disappointment, and that's Cutthroat Island itself, because it's the title of the movie is Cutthroat Island. I'm stuttering and throwing up my and uhs a lot here because I'm hesitant to say this, but the actual island of Cutthroat Island, it's a little bit of a disappointment.
Well,
there's nothing too special about the actual Cutthroat Island. We get this cool kind of rhyming riddle about where the treasure is on the island. There's even a part that says it's guarded by those who never grow old, which makes you think, is there some cool monster there or something?
Right.
No, there's just a pile of skulls next to the treasure when they find it.
Well, there is an interesting callback maybe to another Renny Harlin film.
Ooh.
So he was the director of Cliffhanger, right? And there's a moment where they discover, they need to jump over the side of this cliff because it says we need to go 55 paces or whatever, but we've only gone 30. So, maybe if we rappel down the side of this cliff, there's a cave where the treasure is hid. But maybe a cliffhanger reference there? I don't know.
Ooh, nice catch. Nice catch.
But so they live to find Cutthroat Island, of course, and then Scully betrays Morgan. Maybe he's realized, I didn't get the map from her. Dang, I need to team up with Uncle Dog. So I love this line from Uncle Dog where he said he's talking to Scully after he's betrayed Morgan. And he says, "If you are ever disloyal to me like you were to Morgan, it'll be my pleasure to cook you alive and eat you. Now get out of my eyes."
He's so good, man. My second viewing was almost purely enjoying Frank Langella in this movie and every single line reading that he has, because he also, when he gets on the island, he unloads his whole boat and they're all chilling and sleeping. And Matthew Modine,
maybe my favorite moment here. Go ahead.
Okay, so Matthew Modine sneaks over to where Dog is sleeping and steals Dog's part of the map. At the same moment, a tarantula crawls onto Dog and wakes him up. Matthew Modine barely escapes. Dog wakes up and grabs the spider, the giant tarantula, crushes it in his hand. Juicy blood runs from between his fingers, and he screams, "Morgan!"
I laughed out loud on sight of him crushing that tarantula because there's so much blood coming out of that thing. It's ridiculous.
It's like he's crushed an elephant skull between his fingers.
Well, it looks like red human blood. I'm pretty sure tarantulas don't have red human blood.
Yeah, it's usually like some kind of like viscous white goo coming out of a bug, or green.
Right.
But it's bright
and it just
red.
streams. It's like an extreme close-up on his hand crushing the tarantula, and it's just... and just a stream of blood coming out.
I'd almost say it's worth it to watch this movie for that one spider kill.
Yes, I would agree.
2 hours and 5 minutes for that.
Yes. And then he says, "I know you're out there, Morgan. I can smell you."
Which is so creepy.
But it's also like logistically improbable. Like, you probably can't smell her out here. And it's just like an awkward line.
Well,
obviously,
it's his niece.
Yeah, I mean... Okay, maybe he could smell her. I don't know.
Well, no, I'm saying
familial pheromones.
It's creepy because it's his niece. That makes it creepier.
I can smell you. Well, he's been really rough with his niece this whole movie. So
he shot her earlier, which makes it funnier whenever they're sword fighting late in the movie and she cuts him and he says, "You cut me, niece." Like, he's so betrayed.
I'm so betrayed, even though I've been trying to kill you this whole movie. But he does try and join forces with her at the end. So. But I also love that line, "I can smell you out here." Just, one, it's awkward. It's just weird and over the top. But meanwhile, look to your left, Uncle Dog, because she and 5 other men are barely hidden behind like a few scant branches in the jungle, like maybe 10 yards away. I don't know. That to me was so ludicrous.
A real dog with any sniffing skills could have smelled them quite easily.
Maybe he did smell them. Again, he's Uncle Dog. He's Captain Dog.
Maybe so. Maybe he knew they were going to find the treasure for him, because they do find the treasure, and then what happens? But he just takes it from him.
Right.
Dummies.
Well, there's this moment where the film actually kind of turns into a straight-up thriller for like 5 seconds. So they rescue Modine from quicksand, and they partner up with the 3 maps. They find the hidden cave and all that. Well, then Modine stays behind to lug up the chest of gold, and she goes up. So, one, is he going to run off on her? There's some tension there, which is kind of interesting. 2, like, her other pirate buddies have disappeared. They've heard some noises in the jungle, and they've left the site so that Captain Dog wouldn't find the cliff. So she comes up the rope into the jungle, and she's just kind of walking around by herself, scared. Her buddies have disappeared. You don't know what's going to happen next. And then, of course, she meets Chain Man, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, because let me set the stage here. So we've got Dog, whose analog is Gina Davis's Morgan. Then we've got Scary Chain Man, whose analog with the good guys is Mr. Glasspool, played by Stan Shaw, who I already referenced. And then they also have Mini Dog, who's this bald pirate who doesn't really have any lines, who's kind of Dog's right-hand man. When he says, "Go get this," he points at it, and then Mini Dog goes and does it. And then we've got, with the good guys, we've got...
I love your Captain Dog voice there.
We've got Mr. Blair, who's got face tats, and he's really kind, and he does whatever Gina Davis asks.
Man, those are some serious face tats,
That's
too.
right.
We're talking about that.
So they've all got an analog, and they all face off later, but we've got good guys and bad guys clearly drawn here, and Chain Man is one of the bad ones, one of the worst ones.
He's up in the tree, and he keeps wrapping his chain around Gina Davis, and...
He keeps wrapping his chain around Gina Davis. Why won't he stop?
Why won't he stop?
He's got a chain for a hand and he won't stop.
Maybe that
rapping
chain
it.
is for Captain Dog. I don't know. There's so many like metaphors that could be had there. But yeah, so that was actually like a moment where I was legitimately scared for Morgan's character. It's like, oh, what's going to happen next? You know, she's alone in the jungle. But yeah, of course, Captain Dog captures her there. They soon capture Modine. They're about to, and they throw Morgan down onto the rope to where Modine has to like let go of the other rope with the treasure. I don't know, it gets really complicated.
Well, this is where we find out, despite their complete lack of chemistry and Renny Harlin's bad skills at developing a romance here, maybe he actually does care more about her than the treasure. So he gives the treasure up for her.
Right,
and
to save her.
That's right, and they make this sort of semi-death pact where they're both going to let go together and fall into the ocean just as a massive wave is covering up the rocks below so that they can wash into the wave, which I'm going to guess that was another digital composite stunt. I don't think people actually did what they do. It actually looks pretty cool.
They might have killed some stunt people right there just for that shot. You never know.
Some stunt folks.
I mean, what they're out there filming on Malta, nobody has to know. You know,
no one ever knew. That's why the budget ballooned so much. It was the lawyer budget.
The lawyer budget.
And then Matthew Modine wakes up on the beach. And I forgot to mention Maury Chaykin, who's John Reed. He's a guy who's writing books about pirates, and he betrayed Gina Davis's character earlier in the film. He was riding around with her, but he switches sides to Dog. You might know Maury Chaykin from Nero Wolfe. He's a character actor. He's awesome. He just kind of putters around in this movie and says, I didn't sign up to do this. I just wanted to write a book about pirates.
Right.
But he's there, and he deceives Matthew Modine into walking into Dog's trap. So Matthew Modine immediately gets captured again, and Gina Davis is AWOL. We don't know where she is.
Right, because Dog has, Reed has lured in the British officer. They strike up a deal with Dog, so they're going to, I guess, split the treasure. And one reason why Dog wants the British officer around, one of, I think it was Chain Man maybe, who asked him, is like, well, why do we suffer these petty fools or whatever? And he's like,
fancy lads.
Yeah. Because I went to study them. He's Trotter. He starts to try and imitate Captain Ainsley. And I guess that's a legitimate reason for splitting your treasure with somebody so you can imitate the British customs. I don't know.
Yeah, and by the way, Trotter's played by Angus Wainwright, which I also thought was kind of funny. He's just kind of around to get yelled at, Trotter! And then get slapped in the back of the head. And then he changes allegiances later in the film, too, for no reason.
For no good reason. Well, he said he doesn't have a future in the Navy. But I love the line.
Apparently.
I love the line. Well, because he's failed. He was supposed to capture
Angus
Morgan.
Wainwright instead of Angus Wright. It's not Wainwright.
Rufus Wainwright. Is that who you're thinking of?
I was.
He might have been in this movie.
Yeah, maybe
There's a lot of people here.
Maybe so.
But I love, speaking of Trotter, Mr. Glasspool, as, again, with his bad Jamaican accent, he says, "Smile, Trotter. Good. Trotter. Good." Yeah. It's just like, what? He's got his gun pointed at him and says that. So the ship fight later on, between the two pirate ships is pretty cool. Lots of explosions. You got the pirate on pirate, sword battles. Morgan versus Dog. He beats her a couple times, and then she's disguised this cannon.
Wait. Did you jump?
I just jumped through the whole.
Did you jump through the 45-minute sea battle? That's all the way to the end. Okay, Jordan just jumped through 45 minutes of the film. It might be mind-numbing.
What else are you supposed to say?
But there's literally a 45-minute sea battle where the ships.
Is it literally 45 minutes?
It's okay. I'm exaggerating by 5 minutes.
I could have believed you.
40 minutes long.
Yeah.
The ships are going full speed. 25 knots. Full tilt with the wind blowing behind them. Then all of a sudden, they're both completely stopped. They fire on each other, do massive damage to each other, link up. All our guys are fighting against each other, guys and gal. We get our face-offs between Mr. Glasspool and Chain Man and Mr. Blair. And Mini Dog,
Mini Dog gets his head crushed in the ship wheel.
Super satisfying. And Glasspool gets a really cool kill where he tricks Chain Man and accidentally chaining himself to the anchor, and then Mr. Glasspool cuts the chain, and not the chain, he cuts the rope to the anchor, and then
he's tied down.
It's so awesome,
drowned
and cool. I definitely, when I was 14, that part I just rewound and watched over and over and over again. So we get all this awesome fighting, but here's the deal, right?
But none of that beats the climax of that ship battle.
Well, wait.
Okay.
Wait, we can't get to that yet, because this is really important.
I'm chomping at the bit here.
So meanwhile, the ships are miraculously parked and not moving. after they were just cruising so quickly. But then every now and then someone will turn the steering wheel and then they are moving again through magic.
Yeah.
They've been blasting the crap out of each other with cannons, but every time we get a side shot of everyone fighting, the ships are completely unharmed.
Right.
There's no damage to either ship. It's great. We get lots of awesome John Debney music. It's 40 minutes of the movie, so get ready for lots of sword fighting, lots of explosions, lots of pirate music. Finally, Gina Davis gets herself with Dog on Dog's ship. Everyone's back on the other ship.
Right.
They've taken
Somehow
everyone else captive.
Somehow it's just her.
It's just her, Dog, and Matthew Modine, who's chained to the bottom of the ship. Gina Davis has blown a hole through the Reaper, Dog's ship. Water is leaking out.
Which doesn't make any sense, because, like, aren't you going after that ship for the treasure, but you're going to blow up the ship before you can secure it?
This is why everyone wants to follow Morgan at the end, because she's brilliant. She ties barrels full of air to the treasure. It's all part of her plan, so that when the ship is blown up and sinks, the treasure will float to the top. So she takes care of that. She makes sure that the ship is going to sink. She gets herself and Dog alone together. She gets her men to cut the ties to the ships. So she's victorious in that all of her men are safe. And now it's just her and Dog fighting to the death. It's the best fight in cinematic history.
Yeah, it
Gina
goes on.
Davis
It goes on
Frank
and, like,
Langella. Best fight ever.
It goes on for, like, in multiple situations. You know, first they're on the bow of the ship, then they're climbing up, like, on the masthead, and then they're, like, in the bottom of the ship after she falls down and she's real beat up.
Can we just talk about how Frank Langella goes from chewing the scenery? I'm so excited I can't even contain it. He chews up the scenery and then he just starts chomping it, and then he's just like inhaling it. He screams at the top of his lungs and gets a close up. I love this.
Oh yes, that is another great moment when they all start before the 40-minute battle. He's just he jumps onto the other ship. I love it. I love this.
And then whenever
I think that was actually Frank Langella, just like out of character. He was having so much fun. He just said that.
Yes.
They got it on film.
And then as he's fighting Gina Davis, he knocks her down from the top mast and she falls down. It's his niece that has way less fighting and pirating experience than him. He bests her, knocks his niece down, and then flexes and goes, yes! It's so good.
Well, that gives her time to then hide a cannon under a tarp, and then when he thinks he's bested her, he backs her into a corner. There's flames all around, so she grabs a stick, a piece of wood with fire on the end of it, and he says, "You think you're going to beat me with that?" And she pulls the tarp off and says, "No, with this," lights the cannon, and then says the best line in the whole movie, probably of cinematic history, "Bad dog."
This whole
And then shoots him with the cannon and kills him.
The whole setup of her displaying the cannon to him that she's going to kill him with, saying the line, lighting the cannon firing, the cannonball hitting him. It's about 10 seconds of screen time in which he looks down in horror at the cannon and never decides, I'll just step to the left, step to the right, jump out of the way. He just looks down, his eyes wide, until the fuse finally gets lit, goes down all the way, and then the ball fires out.
It would take a few seconds for that fuse to go out, blast the ball out.
I think he was just enraptured by her incredible one-liner.
Well, that, and yeah, he's just blown away by her ingenuity that she devised this whole plan. He thought he had beaten her. I mean, she's all beat up and bloody looking. Gina Davis just looks like a mess through most of this movie because she's either bleeding, her shirt's all ripped up, she's wet from having to swim through the water. She's just a mess, but she does own him in this moment here. I mean, she gets to call him bad dog.
That's right.
What other thing could you ask for at this moment?
Yes, and then
almost as good as the tarantula moment.
Almost, but I think my favorite moment that even tops that is she frees Matthew Modine, which we've never. Have we called him Shaw? His actual character's
name. His name is Shaw,
movie?
But whatever. It's Matthew Modine.
She grabs Shaw and they hurry up and climb to the top of the boat because, of course, the boat is about to explode now.
Oh yes.
Everyone on all the good guys on the other ship are saying, "Jump, jump, jump!" They're all super psyched and excited. They do jump, and the boat explodes like 48 atom bombs going off at the same time inside a mason jar. It's the biggest explosion I've ever seen in any movie ever. It's so good. You get it in slow-mo from 400 different angles.
Of course.
While they're jumping off of it.
Because it wouldn't be the 90s if not, you know?
That's actually 20 minutes of the 40-minute sea battle.
is that one explosion.
And they land in the water. And, of course, Matthew Modine doesn't know that she's tied the barrels to the treasure. So he says, it's okay. I'm alive and you're alive and we're alive together.
Yes.
No, we're alive together. That's what he says.
We're alive together. That's just like the worst dialogue. Oh, man.
Yes. And she's thinking, well, I got the treasure.
Right.
And then the treasure pops back up, and then she does have the treasure.
They've got the treasure in the end. So, yeah, at the end, she's still captain of the Morning Star. They're going to go off to Madagascar, and despite some complaints from the crew. But I love that the last thing she says to Modine, after she's ordered everybody around, she says, "And I need you to go to the captain's quarters, right away." Like for some post-adventure coitus, I guess. It's just like, because we knew that's what all this was leading up to anyway.
And the best part is
it's all about the sex and the money.
She's making like this kinky kind of feisty little face. And his face is kind of disinterested / scared.
What do you want me in the quarters for? I don't understand. Maybe he's that aloof.
Or was this in the script? You don't mean in real life, right? Renny is right there.
Right, yeah. We're not going to actually do it on screen, right?
The movie's over, right? Can I leave now?
I think it should have ended with like a terrible sex scene at that moment. Just the credits coming up of them doing it.
How awkward would it? Because we already got a semi-love scene before where he tips over a bottle of wine while the camera is cutting away, and then the bottle of wine. This is when he's taking the bullet out earlier in the film. The bottle of wine is still standing in the next shot, and then it's fallen over again. Then it's standing up again.
Oh, I didn't notice this.
It's lousy, but hey, you know what? The movie does end with one of our favorite '90s traditions, which is we get the zoom out into the sky, and the credits roll, and we still get more footage of the pirate ship. It's a glorious looking pirate ship. Glorious sky, glorious sea, beautiful shot.
I didn't even notice this.
Lots of beautiful shots in this movie of the sea and the coastline. And
I was just
ships.
thinking about their post-adventure coitus. I was too distracted.
Were you? What? How did it make you feel? The thoughts of them.
Man, I thought you meant the movie in general.
Just their romance. The love between the two of them.
Not a whole lot of chemistry there. Could again maybe impeded by the director, but
it's not even like up to like brother sister standards. It's sort of like
it's like we have to be in this movie and do this movie and let's get it over with.
Yeah, it's almost like they were both up for like highest GPA in their class, and Gina Davis won and he got second, and then she was like, "Let's go do it," and he was like, "Oh,
do I have to? Oh man." Okay. Well, moving on from the actual movie, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask me? I'm so glad that we did watch this movie because I feel like some of these other films that we've watched so far, they're good bad, they're quote unquote good bad, they're entertaining, they're fun. They're not just bad movies. There's good and there's bad there. There's some like Point Break or Total Recall, all these things. But I feel like this film is not that.
The chase was close to bad.
And the chase was close to bad. This is bad. This is so bad, though, that it's good. So it falls into that genre,
It is.
if you will.
And so the second viewing that I had, I enjoyed it a lot on those terms. If you go into this just wanting a movie that's so bad it's good while enjoying really beautiful scenery, and some really nice shots.
Yeah, and some over-the-top action.
Yeah, over-the-top action, and like a really incredible score, dude. No, really a really, really good musical score. No lie, one of the best musical scores of the 90s, taking it on its own. And not just me saying that. It's been reissued a ton of times. It'll outlast this movie.
I felt like maybe Matthew Modine also wasn't the best pick for this film.
He was like the 45th pick.
I think,
They went through so many actors.
Many people.
They could not get anyone to be in this movie. This movie had such a troubled start, so I guess we can kind of...
But you know who I feel like he's going for this, and the look he's going for and his mannerisms? Carrie, how do you say his name? Carrie
Yule is, I can never say it.
Carrie Elwes.
Yeah,
Elwes?
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Men in Tights. For
Men in
Robin.
Tights. That
Robin Hood,
Prince
Men
of
in
Thieves
Tights.
would be Kevin Costner.
Yeah, not Kevin Costner, because we already had Waterworld. We don't need him in this.
Which came out the same year as this. Isn't that insane?
That is insane.
Stay away from the ocean, 1995.
Right.
It is not where you belong.
It's not going to make you any money, but that's for sure. Renny Harlin, talking about the director again, I wanted to talk about this quote. He said, "Making a film is like doing gymnastics or piloting an aircraft. While sticking your landings is held in high regard, and rightly so, even more important is walking away from the ones you don't stick. If you don't believe me, I have 2 words for you. Cutthroat Island." So it is kind of amazing that he could make this movie, bankrupt a whole studio with this movie, and then move on and still make other films.
So let's say this would have made an easy link from Total Recall. This is Carol Co., who made Total Recall and was riding so high after that. According to Renny Harlin, they were already in some dire financial straits because of some other business dealings, and it wasn't Cutthroat Island that totally did them in.
Right. They were already hard up before it even came out.
I don't know how true that is, but yeah, this movie killed Carol Co.
Yeah.
They died.
Good job, Renny Harlin. That's right. Well, years later, Matthew Modine explained also some other reasons why the film's cost spiraled out of control. And this is like the wackiest fact about this movie.
Please tell me it's
found.
the V8.
It's the V8. So, among other things, dozens of cases of V8 juice were shipped out to Malta, where they were filming expressly for Renny Harlin and Gina Davis. Like, not for the crew, not just like generic supplies, but for some reason, I don't know, maybe they're just like they're making a lot of Bloody Marys.
I love thinking that they just have a V8 vault, like Scrooge McDuck, that they're just swimming through V8 and spitting it out.
This trivia says an entire room of V8 was left towards the end of the shoot, so it was served to everybody.
Can you imagine working on this dumb movie for months and months of your life, this grueling process, and then all getting served their V8 that made the movie go over budget? Even more.
Not only that, V8 is probably the worst drink out of all the drinks.
It's awful.
So it matches this movie beautifully.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Wikipedia, I don't like going by it just for the simple fact that I myself edit Wikipedia entries. So I know how unreliable it is. But it's right on a lot of the basic summations it makes. The negative reviews for the script, acting, and unrealistic stunts, whereas the high production values, action sequences, shooting locations, and musical score were praised. Those are all views that I already held before reading that, so I could have very easily edited this Wikipedia entry, but I didn't. I've actually not made any edits to the Cutthroat Island.
Maybe you did, and you just blocked out your
Maybe
memory.
so. I'm not saying I won't in the future, but I think one of my favorite facts of all that I found out just on the Wikipedia one, because there are a lot of other good resources for this movie online. IMDb's got some great stuff, too.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, Russell Crowe, Liam Neeson, Jeff Bridges, Ralph Fiennes, Charlie Sheen, Michael Keaton, Tim Robbins, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Gabriel Byrne all turned down the role of Shaw before Matthew Modine agreed to take on the role of Shaw.
How does it feel to be Matthew Modine in that moment?
Youch.
Oh, well, at least he got the role. And
Jude Law
did he make money? I don't know.
Whenever Chris
Could
Rock
they pay him?
made that, Chris Rock made a joke about Jude Law at the, I don't know, like the Oscars or something in 2005 or 2006. If you can't get Tom Cruise, get Jude Law. And it crushed Jude Law's spirit for decades.
Ooh,
and
burn.
Just think about Matthew Modine and Jude Law. Think about how many people after Tom Cruise it took to get to Matthew Modine. Right. He wasn't the second pick. Jude.
Was it just failed to begin with? Maybe they read the script and realized, oh, this is terrible. I'm not going to do this. But apparently Renny Harlin spent $1 million of his own money to rewrite the script, which is, because the company couldn't pay for it. They're already in debt and bankrupt. How bad does that have to feel to spend that much money on a script for it to still be this terrible? Like, how bad was it to begin with? That's scary. That's not even funny. That's scary.
I want the director's cut. Oh. When are we going to get that? I want the director's cut of Cutthroat Island.
Oh, man. It's got 40 more minutes of that one battle.
I need it. I need that on physical media only.
Laser disc.
That's right.
I want the limited edition.
Yes, give me my Blu-ray.
So yeah, we have to talk about this film is basically blamed for killing the pirate movie because it flopped so bad.
Even though, let's be honest, pirate movies weren't really a thing at that point. There were a lot of pirate movie flops leading up to this. It's not like pirate movies were flourishing and then Cutthroat Island came along and killed them. They weren't really doing great before Cutthroat Island came along, which I think is part of the reason why it flopped so hard. Because a lot of bad movies make a lot of money, but I don't think people saw the trailers for this and thought, oh man, a pirate movie, I gotta see that.
Right. Watch the trailer. It's all just shots of them jumping off the boat and explosions and being chased through the city. So they're trailers that do that. They're trying to appeal to the spectacle of it and everything, but it also just doesn't give you any story. Probably they wanted to avoid any of the actors talking because there's literally nobody talking in the trailer. I wonder why.
I would only put Frank Langella lines in there.
Right. Him crushing the tarantula. Morgan!
Dog will have his day.
Bad dog. Just those moments.
Yes.
For their ridiculousness. Moving on from the trivia about Cutthroat Island, what about our movie connection time? So we're going to connect this movie to Tremors. How are we going to do that, Nick?
There were a few ways that I could go, but there was only one that seemed fitting. So in Tremors, our two guys, Val and Earl, they're handymen. Very early in the film, they accidentally bust a sewer line and they get sprayed with sewage.
I know where you're going.
During the filming of Cutthroat Island, one of the major setbacks of many, many, many major setbacks was the actors were supposed to be swimming around in this pool of water. A sewer line got busted, and they ended up having to swim around in sewage, which is not actually up to health code, so the production had to get shut down so that could get cleaned up. And I thought that was about the most fitting connection, especially considering, in Tremors, that's just all part of the movie magic. That's a part of the scene. Kevin Bacon and help me out here because I'm blanking out.
Fred Ward
didn't get sprayed with actual sewage. And Tremors, is a great movie that we both love. But in real life, our poor actors in Cutthroat Island really got hit with the sewage, and it's a lousy movie.
And a great metaphor for the movie itself.
That's right.
That these actors literally did swim around in sewage. Physically, but figuratively too.
Metaphysically.
Metaphysically, their spirits were sewaged by this film.
Pretty much your middle school English teacher's descriptor way. Simile, metaphor, all of them.
Yeah. Personification.
Right. It's all poo, man.
This movie personifies sewage.
It's all sewage.
Well, all right.
What would you give the film? What's your score?
I gave it a 1.5 star rating out of 5. 1 star for the great explosions and spectacle and all that and the interesting location shooting. 0.5 star for the laugh out loud moments where it was just so terrible I couldn't help myself. So
gotcha. So
that's not a traditional rating system I go by usually, but it felt right. 1.5.
Cutthroat Island. I don't have my VHS tape of this anymore. Unfortunately, at one point I had to get rid of all my Columbia House VHS tapes. There were like 300 of them, and they're all gone. So I had to watch this digitally. I used Vudu.
Oh, you did?
VUDU.
I used Stars. I had to sign up for a free trial of Stars.
Through Hulu?
No, through Amazon.
Nice.
Amazon Stars.
All right. Well,
so anybody who's listening who's still interested in this movie after this review can go find it there.
Yeah, or maybe it's your local library if they have a physical copy.
We didn't have it.
Oh, ouch. Never mind.
We're too good for Cutthroat Island.
Oh, man.
Well, we didn't have it. Maybe some other
This
local
movie
libraries.
should be preserved because
I think so.
When I gave my original review on Vudu, I gave it 2 out of 5, and I was really bummed. But I went back and watched it again under the pretense of, okay, this movie is not great. It's really, really goofy and over the top and huge and dumb. And I could enjoy it for what it was a lot more. It really has a lot of beauty as far as the locations. There are a lot of great shots in the movie. The score is great. The production values are insanely high. But then on the other side, the dialogue is awful. The performances are not good. The editing is not good. The movie is not well paced. And those things kind of butted together. But I felt like I could bump it up another 0.5 star. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I feel like there's something, and even the quality of the film grade. I really watching movies for Filmshake lately and just thinking about how film kind of went more digital in the next decade. I feel like a lot of movies in the 90s just look great.
Right.
I feel like, film technology was reaching its peak. I mean, I'm sure it's better now, but we get so many movies on digital versus film these days.
Yeah, but
I feel like the movies looked really good, and this movie looks, just the look of the film grade, it looks beautiful.
Well, yeah, there's just something about the look of film versus digital that just looks a little more dusky, a little dusty. It's not as sharp and as crisp, but I like it for that reason. And you get the more grain. It's just a different grade to the coloring, everything. And we're getting off the boat here from our usual.
Well, speaking of boat, let me just say there's a shot where it's right after her father gets thrown off of the boat, and she rescues him and swims away somehow and gets to this lagoon.
Right.
So the sun is just set and the sky is black in the background. Dog's ship is in the background far away. There's just barely this orange line on the horizon. There's a smaller boat full of Dog's crew in the middle of the shot, and then in the foreground there's this beautiful rocky lagoon that's just barely lit by the fading sunlight, and then Gina Davis and her father coming in onto the rocks, and it looks so beautiful. It's insane. It's just the most beautiful shot. It's almost unbelievable that this movie has a shot like that.
Right.
And if you really just look at it that way, there are a ton of shots that look that good in this movie. There are some incredible shots. If you can divorce all of those shots from all the bad stuff, there's a lot of visual and oral candy in this movie. Oral, A-U-R-A-L. I would not try to eat this movie. I feel like it would give you indigestion. We talked about sewage a lot earlier. So I could give it a solid 5 out of 10.
But along with the score, like you said earlier, a good point, that the score was so good that it almost made the movie worse because it's juxtaposed with how terrible it is. I feel like those good shots, too, it's just a shame that this cinematography is trapped in this terrible of a movie.
I feel like this movie would really benefit from one of those cuts where you just get the score-only cut of a film, kind of like a director's commentary, only the score and nothing else.
Yeah, just watch it just with the score.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a Twilight Time release out there because they do that a lot with their...
Maybe so.
Yeah. I doubt it.
Probably not. Unfortunately, no one cares about Cutthroat Island. I think I was the only person who cared enough to watch it.
Does anybody like this movie? Nick was the only surviving member of that party. He's no longer there. No, I feel like if I rated this on enjoyment level, it would be like 4 or 5 out of 5. But yeah, as a movie, practically, and its merits as a movie, no. It's pretty bad. All right. So let's move on to trivia battle time of 1995. I lost the last trivia battle. I'm hoping to redeem myself, and this is not going to be my 4th loss in a row. I'm just saying that out loud now. Change it up a little bit. We're going to do best 2 out of 3, just so we each get a chance to ask some questions, and hopefully one of us will be the deciding winner.
Yes, and I have no geography questions this time.
Good.
They're all related to 1995 cinema.
Good.
American cinema.
I'm going to pull out the sheet of paper and keep score.
All right.
Just so that we don't get mixed up.
Well, you're the defeated, so you ask me first. Let's go.
All right. Which U.S. president got the Oliver Stone treatment in 1995 in the form of a biographical film with great acting and a wildly conspiratorial script? Was it A, Kennedy, B, Reagan, C, Nixon, or D, Bush?
Did you just say which president and not what the title of the movie was?
I said which U.S. president got the Oliver Stone treatment in 1995?
Gotcha. Well, he did JFK, but I feel like there's also a Nixon that came out in 1995. Shoot, what year did JFK come out? Because we watched it in middle school. You got me with the choices there, buddy. I'm just going to say JFK. It was Nixon, wasn't it?
It was Nixon.
That was my first.
That was kind of the trick because he did both.
That was my gut, my gut, because JFK was what, 93?
I think it was 90.
Dang.
And Nixon was 95.
I blew it.
So it was a 95 question. All right, so 1 for Jordan. Here we go.
All right.
What you got?
Cutthroat Island opened on December 22nd, 1995, against which of these films? A, True Lies. B, Grumpier Old Men. C, The Mask. D, The Lion King.
Grumpier Old Men?
You got it.
Nice.
Jordan's up.
So from 1995, Dead Man Walking, It's the true story of a nun named Helen Prejean who comforts a condemned killer named Matthew Poncelet during the final days of his life. Which actress portrayed Prejean in an
Susan
Oscar?
Sarandon.
Dang it. All right, you got that point.
I should have said Nixon. I knew that first one. Dadgummit.
Didn't even let me get to the choices, man.
Director of Filmshake favorite Where the Heart Is, John Boorman, released a new film in 1995 titled A. Growing Up Guppy, B. Behind the Times, C. Above the Handshake, D. Beyond Rangoon.
Was it Behind the Times?
D. Beyond Rangoon.
Beyond Rangoon. All right. Man, I'm just not up on my Boorman filmography here. I feel like you fell off the map after Where the Heart Is. I wonder why. All right, so which 1995 movie includes a non-consensual haircut, a tomato, and a glass eye? Was it A, Major Payne, B, Waterworld, C, Tom and Huck, or D, A Kid in King Arthur's Court?
What three things?
A non-consensual haircut, a tomato, and a glass eye.
Waterworld.
You got it. So you've got two. I've got one.
1995 featured the final film to star cinematic treasure and Jordan Courtney misunderstood, John Candy, titled A. Curly Sue, B. Uncle Buck, C. Canadian Bacon, D. It Was a Brief Affair.
I don't know. I'm going to guess Curly Sue.
No! Canadian Bacon.
Oh, that's what I was going to guess. Oh, no. That's what I was going to
I
say.
can't believe I beat you again.
No.
The best part is I watched Canadian Bacon in Grand Isle, too. I watched all of
Canadian
John
Bacon.
Candy's movies.
No.
Ah.
No. Man.
Oh, dear.
Why didn't I say Canadian Bacon?
Oh, man.
That was like my gut reaction, but then I second guessed myself. Oh,
All
well.
right, well,
What am I watching?
you're going to watch another Renny Harlin film from the 90s. And it's not Cliffhanger.
Oh.
And it's not The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Oh, no. I've already seen Die Hard 2. What's left?
Oh, buddy, it's not Die Hard 2. This is a movie starring Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, no.
And it's titled The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Oh, yeah, I saw this looking through IMDb and his stuff. Yeah, I can't imagine that it's anything close to the majestic Cutthroat Island.
Well, it's so different. I want to know if Renny could work in this field, and maybe this is where he should have been, doing something like this.
What is it?
It's an action comedy mystery film. It stars Andrew Dice Clay as the title character. He's a rock and roll detective.
Oh, that's right. All right.
His beat is the music industry in L.A.
His beat. I like that pun there.
True to his name, Ford drives a 1957 Ford Fairlane 500 Skyliner. That was also from the Wikipedia entry.
Why do you hate me?
Sorry, buddy.
Man, number 4.
See, and I kind of picked that on a
Should have
whim.
said Canadian Bacon.
I didn't think I was going to beat you again.
Oh, man.
Oh,
I had a great one picked out for you, too. Do you want to see?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to watch this film.
yeah, give it to me.
This is, have you seen this movie?
The Velocipaster?
Velocipaster.
No, save that one in the vault. Save that one in the vault.
A Man of the Claw. Yeah. So I was hoping we could watch that together.
Oh, man.
All right,
I'm going to save my other two 1995 questions that I didn't ask you for later.
Okay. That might be a good idea.
Man, I thought you were going to get the Boorman one. I was really surprised.
I was so close to getting that John Candy one.
Yeah.
Well, my pick for next time is going to be the 1994 Surviving the Game with Gary Busey.
Yes, I haven't seen this. I'm so pumped.
I haven't seen it either.
Oh, man.
It's also got John C. McGintley.
Dude, yes.
So I feel like, with Point Break, like you had mentioned in that episode, we didn't really get to see the unhinged craziness of Busey like he was in his heyday. Well, actually, this came out after that movie, so maybe he got back to his heyday. But a homeless man, played by Ice-T, is hired as a survival guide for a group of wealthy businessmen on a hunting trip in the mountains. But he's unaware that they are killers who hunt humans for sport, and he is their new prey.
Rutger Hauer's in this too.
Rutger Hauer is also,
Love him.
It just looks like it's going to be awesomely terrible. So
Man,
I'm looking forward to it.
I cannot wait. Good pick,
Yes.
man.
Thanks. Yeah.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
So psyched.
Good deal. Well, thank you all for listening. Again, this is Filmshake. You can reach us at filmshakepodcast@gmail.com or find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.
You can find me at thenexperiment.com or thenexperiment.blogspot.com, probably reviewing this, doing some music reviews. I just ran a marathon with bursitis in my knee, a full 26.2 marathon, while having best answer in bursitis, so I'll probably be doing a write-up on that. Go Tigers, national champs 2019.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's about it. Man, Cutthroat Island. Thank you for talking about this movie with me. I feel like I've exercised some demons.
It sounds like it. Thank you for introducing it to me. I have a new favorite terrible movie.
Yeah, I feel like I enjoy it more than I did before.
Great. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can laugh at something and how bad it is, isn't that more enjoyable than something actually being good?
Bad dog.
All right, we'll see you next time for more Filmshake.
Take it easy. They are so many. We are so few.